Well, listen, I mean, I think that we're all products of our environment and our upbringing. And I think the legendary investor Byron Ween, who's now 90, said something to me about 20 years ago, which I said, well, that's absolutely true. There's something that happens to you from the age of 11 to about 17. That 6 year period of time, you begin the process of idealization of your life, and you begin the process of saying to yourself, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Now, some of that is a reaction formation to your parents. Like they're doing something that you dislike, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do it the exact opposite of them. Or they're doing something that you like and you want to replicate elements of it. But then you have your own internal clock and your own internal mechanisms that are firing you up during the day. And so for me, I grew up with some level of financial anxiety. I don't want to ever say that I grew up poor. I didn't. We grew up in the middle class, and I would never dishonor my dad or demean his very hard work ethic by telling anybody that I grew up poor. I didn't. He was a hourly worker. He had a union job as a crane operator. He made a good living. It was resoundingly in the middle class. I got very lucky in that I grew up in a town called Port Washington. If you came to Port Washington, there's blue collar people there. And then up on the water on Long Island Sound, there are very wealthy people as well. And so the tax base is quite good. And so I went to a very good public school system. But I can tell you that 11, 12, 13, there was a lot of economic pressure in our family because my dad's wages were going up and down with the recession and the economy. And so I made a pledge to myself that I was going to own my own business. I was going to run my own business and try to carve out my own financial destiny. And so when I got to Tufts and Harvard, really didn't have the money for those places. And so I carried into my career about $125,000 of debt, which 30 years ago was maybe almost like $400,000 of debt today. And so my number one thing was I was going to go work for a big company, and I was going to do as much as I could for that big company and work as hard as I possibly could until I could pay off my school debt. And once my school debt was paid off, no matter when that happened, I was immediately leaving to go start my own business. And I'm going to tell you something that I think a lot of your peers know. You got to really know yourself. Okay. I had a roommate in law school who was beautifully suited for Goldman Sachs. You worked at Goldman. My roommate was beautifully suited. He was going to be a partner there. He had the form-fitting personality to make partner there and to excel at Goldman. I did not. Okay. I'm an Italian-American kid from a blue-collar family, and I would have had to have shaved all the sharp points off of my personality to try to fit into the style box that would have allowed me to excel at Goldman. And then I would have ruined myself in terms of what my artistic representation is to myself. No offense to Goldman Sachs. I mean, by the way, my friend, he was perfectly fitted for them. And so another big lesson, do what makes sense for you and what fits your personality. Don't try to fit yourself into a job because you think it's going to impress your parents, or you think it's going to sound good at a cocktail party or at the country club. Who cares? Nobody cares about you, man. Okay. When you are young, you think everybody's talking about you. When you get to be my age, you realize nobody's talking about you. And by the way, if they are talking about you, you're like, why are they wasting their time talking about me? That's the point. And so I left intuitively knowing that I needed to start my own business. And I knew that was going to be good for my personal destiny, and it was good for that idealization that I had. And then Mario Gabelli, who you guys may or may not know, he's 80 now. He's a very famous money manager. Was on the Barron's advisor list for 30 years, et cetera. When I was 32 years old, he said to me, listen, you got to go start your own business. You got the personality for it. You don't want to be at Goldman when you're 50. Moreover, you probably won't even be allowed to be at Goldman when you're 50. They'll probably fire your ass before that. There's a very few people that get to make it at Goldman past 50. And you're going to want to work. You're going to be 50. You're going to be a young guy, very energetic. You want to work. So go start your own business. This way you're guaranteed to always have a job. So those were the elements that went into the cake of me starting my own business. So when you talk about the fear, that's something I've been blessed with. I don't have a lot of fear. You know, if someone asked me to go be the communications director in the White House, even though that was literally the stupidest thing I've ever done, I don't have any fear. I would have go ahead and did it. And so don't live your life with fear. You know, remember what Steve Jobs said at Stanford in his commencement address, you know, you're going to be dead before you know it. So just, you know, go for things. Mel Brooks has the best line ever. I tell all my kids this, you know, relax. None of us are getting out of here alive. Okay. So go live your life, live your dream. And even if it doesn't measure up, the fact that you had the guts to go do something like that, you'll be so proud of yourself, you know? So am I the richest person on Wall Street? Absolutely not, you know, but I'm not the poorest. And I've had a very interesting, you know, buffet table of life experiences. You know, I've built a conference business. I've attended a gajillion conferences. I have friends all over the world. I don't know if I could have had that experience had I worked for a corporation. Maybe I could have. Who knows? But the fact that it's my own thing and the fact that I have to wake up every morning with that challenge is something that I really enjoy. And so, but you can't live with fear. And it's not to say that you're not going to have anxiety. You know, when I left Goldman at 32 to start my business, I had anxiety. I had worry. I think I got myself sick over the weekend of going to start my business. I was just like, okay, my God, there's no safety net. I'm out here on my own. I have no brand. How am I going to make this thing work? But it wasn't fear. Fear is a different thing. You know, you have to be smart enough to overcome your fear in life, and you have to like see through to the other side, no matter what happens. And then, of course, you need a couple of good failures. That'll sober your ass up really good. And then once you've had a good series of failures, then you build that resiliency and you're able to like realize you can handle almost anything.